Awesome. Well, welcome to Rockin' the Ring with Metal Mike. So glad you guys finally could get on here. It took us a while. Some of us have talked for 6 months to do this.
Yep.
Oops. So I'll let you introduce yourselves and give a brief description of who you are in the ring, and then we'll go from there, if you don't mind. I'm not going to first. Let's not get in the ring. We're not fighting over this now.
Oh, real name is Noah. Ring name is OGUgly, and I just debuted a couple months ago. I'm excited to do this interview here. It's my first interview as a wrestler, and I appreciate you for having me on here.
Hey, no problem, dude. No problem.
I'm Mike. The real name is Major Pryce. I've been around for about as long as OG there, about 11 months in. I actually started training on Mother's Day of 2024. So just debuted, I want to say 2 months ago. So thanks for having me, man.
Awesome.
My name is Tyler. Ring name is Cyrus Riley. I've been doing this for about 12 months, so a full year. My first show was supposed to be the show before Rise, but my actual first show was actually Rise of last year, so technically a year worth of shows.
Awesome. I know you guys have been putting in some hard work just even to be there, and I respect each one of you for that. More than I could have done probably at your age myself, which we'll get into in a moment here, because a few of you gentlemen are a little bit older than your average trainee.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So you got some of you got families, relationships that have stood the test of time. Now putting wrestling into that mix is always a chore. But your spouse, I've met all your spouses there and significant others. They seem to be enjoying them just as much as you are. It seems like talking to them.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Here's hoping, anyways.
Right? Better be careful. They've been watching long enough. They can use them moves against you. They know your weaknesses.
She wishes.
I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole. All right, so what brought each? I'm going to start with Cyrus since he's at the top right of my corner. What brought you to wrestling? Who'd you look at? Who was your influences to say, hey, I want to try this? And why did it take you so long to get there? Was it because of the family?
Honestly, when I first started it, a lot of it was fear of failing. Whenever I first, that's why it took so long, as I was afraid of failing, and actually was kind of driftless. I didn't have any idea of what I wanted to do with my life. It was just one day I was talking to my wife, and I was like, I would love to do wrestling. It'd be nice. It's a thing of it's all three things I like doing, acting and being physically active, because I'd lost a lot of weight, and just being an influence on some people, because I didn't have great influences when I was growing up. And she called my bluff. I kept using the excuse like, oh, there's nowhere to go. She pointed out that OVW is like really close. And no shot on OVW. They're a decent school. It's just that one of their things in their joining, when you sign up, that last sentence, it says like either you or we will decide if wrestling's for you. And I didn't like that. I was just like, it rubbed me the wrong way. And so I looked on Google for wrestling schools. I was like, okay, she's calling my bluff. If I don't do it, then she's right, and I'm not pushing myself. And Grindhouse was the first one to show up. I've loved wrestling since I was a kid anyways, because my grandfather and I used to watch it. Then my brothers and I used to watch it. I was a huge fan of Goldberg growing up. Like he was my he was my first favorite. All right, I can't help it. But as as time grew, it became like Chris Jericho and The Miz. And Miz is still one of my top favorites. He's underrated and deserves so much love. But no, it's a lifelong dream that I'm finally getting to pursue. In the face of that, still that fear of failing, anyways.
Right. Jericho's an awesome dude. I've met Jericho probably a dozen times at this point. One of my all-time favorites. So I know somebody was putting, I think one of you guys put up who's your favorite wrestler of all time, and Jericho's one of the top 5 in mine. Probably top 3 behind Eddie Guerrero, and I mean, unfortunately, Chris Benoit was one of my favorites, and I hate to see what happened there in that instance. All right, so we'll move on to Major Pryce.
Well, I've been a wrestling fan since I was a little kid. I watched it growing up with my uncle. I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. And I'm a little older than these guys here. I'm 36, so it goes back pretty far. Probably the old USWA, stuff like that, old WCW. I was pretty much I was a Ric Flair fan for sure. I like the heels. I've always liked the heels. What got me into it as now a competitor, I want to say it was just by chance, man. I've always wanted to do it, and like Tyler said, OVW was a thing, but I kind of put the thing on hold. I went into the military after 18. I was there for quite a while. Got out and started a family. Got a wife and a kid, and everything gets put on hold when you got a family. So the wrestling thing is just a plus in my life right now. And by chance, I ran into a guy that I work with who also wrestled for Grindhouse and did some other indie shows and stuff like that. And he kind of just threw it out there. Hey, maybe you should call this guy. Maybe you guys know him. He goes by Too Tough Tony. Yeah, I shout out to him. I sent him a message on Facebook, and he said, "You know what? You come to the right place." So ever since then, I kind of just fit in right there. That's the home away from home now at this point.
Yeah, yeah. They like I said, I've been going over there 3 years, working almost directly with them for 2, and I couldn't say nothing more better than the guy Ronnie and Tony have taught me a lot, being as an outsider, not even a wrestler, but as a podcaster, and working with a title that was there at one point. I've learned a lot. All right, Ugly, your turn. Tell us a little bit about you. I know you do music, now wrestling.
Yeah,
Combining
yeah.
the two.
Getting into wrestling started with the music for real. Buddy of mine, Derek, he did all my music videos. Derek Spruill did a documentary on Darren, uh, the blind wrestler from Grindhouse,
Right,
and I
right.
wanted to do a music video at a wrestling ring, and I already had that hookup at Grindhouse. I met Kevo and Oliver Gunner. We did a music video. And Tough brought up, maybe trying out wrestling. At that time, I was like, nah, I'll just do the music stuff. I ended up leaving the music stuff kind of behind and wanting to get into something else. And I feel like wrestling and music, I mean, they're basically the same thing with a little more violence, I guess, in the wrestling part of it. You gotta be more physical than just getting up there and singing or whatever. But there was that. Wrestling influences. Bray Wyatt's the reason I started watching wrestling again. I had quit watching wrestling for a really long time. Saw a Bray Wyatt promo and just decided I wanted to get back into it, watch it, and ended up like I loved him. And Shinsuke Nakamura really pulled me in to NXT. Samoa Joe, they were all there. My favorite all time is Edge, though. I was Adam Copeland now, but Edge is my favorite. It's not close. Him and Kurt Angle are probably the reason that I stuck with wrestling, like watching wrestling all the way up until I guess I was a teenager. I quit watching, but yeah, just trying to bring over the same kind of character from the music to this. I already have my own brand, so it was kind of easy to get that little takeoff in wrestling, and came over to Grindhouse, and I love it. It's I mean, Ronnie, Mitch, tough, 10 out of 10 people, love them to death, and I'm excited to get this journey going now.
Right. That's like I said, the reason why I wanted to bring you along. I mean, because you're just getting started. There are guys there that are that have got the vets. You've got Berto that's a vet that's older, just like you gentlemen, that started later in life. It's but you don't nobody shows a sign of slowing down. You know, I mean, the matches are enough. There's entertainment. You go to some places or watch certain programs, and everybody's talking about the flippity flops and all that, and there's no story. But at Grindhouse, you've got stories built in all matches. There's a story with each match. Even when you guys have came in and wrestled certain people, that's your test to show the fans, hey, look at me. And I think you three have, even in the brief times that you've been in the ring, and unfortunately sitting around the ring as the security, fans have got to know who you are a little bit. So did you, I mean, this is directed to all three of you. Once you got into training, was it what you thought it was, or was it completely opposite what you even thought it was to begin with? Since you've been watching wrestling for years, was it anywhere near what you thought?
Physically, yeah. Um, I think the mental and psychology part of it was way different than what I had expected. Um, it's a bigger part, and it's my favorite part now. But physically, I knew what it was going to be, and like I said, I did that music video. I took a body slam in the video, so I knew, hey, this kind of sucks. But so I walked in with that. Uh, I think that the psychology, the mental part, was way different than I expected, and it's a way bigger part of it. Just knowing, why doing things that make sense, stuff like that was the hardest part to learn. One, and I think two, it's the last thing I guess that you think about when you think about wrestling. You think about wrestling from the move standpoint, and a lot of wrestling, like you said, is the flippity stuff now, and it's all move based. But when you really break it down, the best moments are psychology moments. You got Austin bleeding out to a sharpshooter and passing out instead of tapping out, like things like that. If he would have tapped out, would have been the same thing as him, passing out. And it's maybe something I didn't think about before. So I think psychology and mentally a little different, but physically, yeah, I knew what it was. It wasn't going to be that much fun physically.
Right.
I'm in the same boat as OG. It was like I knew it wasn't going to be easy by no means. I don't think anybody would think it'd be easy unless they're one of those people who thinks, like so many people do online, that they can do anything. There's a lot more to it than what you think of when you grow up watching it, though. I can't really say anything different than what OG said, because legitimately it's the same thing. Because you go into it and you're like, okay, the physical part's going to be the majority of what we're focusing on for a little bit. That's what I did anyways. And then suddenly there's all this other stuff that's now there. It's like, well then, I was not as prepared as I thought it was, but it's still everything I've ever wanted it to be, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, Walt, I mean, talking with you privately after shows and before shows and such, I mean, you're going out there, you're learning that you could get hurt. You've broke your nose in a match. Probably scared the living daylights out of you when you're like, okay, this rung my bell, just like Mike got his bell rung a couple weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah, I want to say they both hit the nail on the head with that, because the physical part is kind of like, I know, I'm gonna have to get in there. I'm gonna have to, get my butt kicked. I'm gonna have to get slammed around. I'm gonna do some slamming, but that psychological thing, and like you said, I got to give credit to Mitch and Ronnie. They really go into why you want to do something and when you want to do something. And that to me is like the biggest thing that I've learned so far is like, how come I'm being asked to, do this or do it this way or try it another way? Or why am I being asked to hold back on something? And because there's a time and a place to do certain things, and it really is all like coming together like a puzzle to me. I mean, I get it, the theatrics and stuff like that. As a fan, I've always gotten into storylines more than I have the actual, action. But yeah, I mean, long story short, it really does come down to the psychological part been a big learning curve for me.
I mean, we've heard. I mean, you always hear everybody, fans alike, they don't realize all the mental toll that goes with the profession. I mean, I've had to learn that over the years being a fan. It's like, okay, like OG said, why did he not tap out? Why did he pass out instead?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the bigger picture. There's a story to draw from that, you know. And there's a reason for certain people to lose at certain times. You might be like, oh, they should have won that match. Well, there's a reason. There's that story arc that nobody realizes is out there. I mean, like I said, look at Grindhouse and look at the stories they've been telling. I mean, that they've built even the first match of the show to the last match of the show. There's a story in each one of those matches, regardless of what you might think that it's a thrown together match. 99% of the time, it's not. So going back to what I was saying about the injuries just a moment ago, I mean, it's not ballet, as the old saying goes. But you get in a match like y'all did at the Rumble, where you got 10 guys in the ring at one time. You've got to be conscious of what's around you. How hard is that to where you go from a match like that to a one-on-one?
I don't know. It's in a multi-man match like that. I mean, you're not seeing as many moves, right? So you might take 1, 2, whatever before you get thrown out. Especially in our situation where none of us lasted a super long time, right? But in a singles match, if you're going from an injury standpoint, there's a lot more time and opportunities for that to happen. But I mean, 9 times out of 10, though, the injuries are like things that I don't really worry about them. It's something that might happen, but if you worry about it, that's when stuff does happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense. If I'm worried about hurting my wrist, I'm gonna try not to, or I'm gonna catch myself in a weird way trying to prevent it and cause it. So it's like really just being aware that it might happen. I guess in a singles match, I feel like you have a better chance, I guess, time-wise of it happening because you're doing more stuff. But I'll say getting thrown out of the ring has hurt me more than anything else. Out of the Rumbles, I've been hurt getting thrown out of the ring more than anything else. I've hurt my hip. I punched the barricade when I got thrown out by Congo Kong. Couldn't feel half of my hand afterwards.
Oh,
Like, stuff just happens, but
right.
it sucks. Getting thrown out of the ring is awful. And I'm bad at doing it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I cause it a lot of times because I want to look cool. But like, so I've been hurt more in those. But singles matches, I mean, I've had a couple of injuries now, but nothing big, nothing bad. You just brush it off and keep going, kind of deal.
No, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, just to expand on what Noah was talking about, though, like he's not wrong. Like, if anybody ever gets into wanting to do this and everything, you can't hyper fixate on worrying about what can happen. Sometimes you just got to be in the moment. Like, every time I've been injured, it's happened in the most nonchalant way, and you discover stuff about yourself when you do get injured. Like, we've talked about the broken nose. I thought getting something like that broken was going to end me. Like, I'd be just done, like tap out, like, get me out, please, I'm done. But legitimately, I was able to still continue to do things in the ring and actually like make some moments out of it. In fact, I used it to make its own little moment. It was battle royale, so it wasn't like a standout thing, but for me, it stood out for me because it was because of how it happened and how out of nowhere it happened. So, and and I'm with him. Getting tossed out of that ring is so mean sometimes. Like I've broken my toe and dislocated my toe getting tossed out of the ring more than I've been injured in a ring. And it's like, could my feet just stay safe for like 5 seconds? Because I can tell you right now, my toe is still broken, and I'm just like, broken toes suck. All right, that's all I'm saying is broken toes suck.
I can relate to that. I got neuropathy in both my feet, so
Yeah,
things and
getting
feet are
knocked
not
out.
fun. Not your
Getting
friend.
knocked out sucks pretty much too. Going back to kind of what Tyler was saying there, it really, I mean, you don't plan on it. You don't plan on getting hurt, and really, once you know, like you get your bearings, you got to remember the show has got to go on, and if you can get back up and finish it out, I mean, especially being green guys like us, you're going to get the respect of the locker room. And number two, it shows how much we care about the business and how much we appreciate, you know, we appreciate getting our butts kicked, you know, and for someone, you
Where does
know,
that say?
it doesn't matter who you know who did what or who hit who or you know who was wrong in the moment. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you know, we have that mutual respect, you know, back in the locker room where you can apologize later, or you know you can talk about what you did wrong and learn how to protect yourself better, obviously, but. Um, you never want to go into it with that fear. I mean, if you're going to do that, you don't need to be wrestling to begin with.
Okay. Okay. Like I said, I respect that. That's one of the reasons I respect the business because a moment's notice. We've seen it before. A moment's notice can do more damage than you know, but you got to accept the reality sometimes. All right, let's see. So you've all been say a year together, pretty much training. Almost all of you training together consistently. So when you get into class, I just want to expand on a little bit of we saw. I mentioned in promos that I was doing. Talk about a little bit of what training is like and what makes you want to go in on a Sunday morning, Wednesday night, whichever night time you get to choose, and what you want to work on continually, or what you work on continually that's going to build your character. If that makes any sense.
What makes me want to go in there? I paid to be there, brother. I might as well be there. I can't miss too many days. But the things that I like to work on the most are the character stuff. Coming up with combos that are like unique to me. Now I'm trying to work on baby stuff because I really worked on heel stuff and it didn't work out for me, but ended up kind of being a baby. So trying to get like the facial expressions, the character stuff, and be my own, not just be like that generic WWE 2K25 unlockable character, babyface or heel. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think being generic's the worst thing to be, um, especially in this industry. And I like working on like the psychology stuff, like understanding, like I said, like why you do what you do, and the best place to do that is training. I mean, getting in front of people's cool and getting that experience, but like being able to practice that on Sundays and Wednesdays, and then go out there and do that. Get to see it come to fruition on big days like Rise and stuff like that. It's awesome. So really just that. I mean, working on the character stuff, working on psychology, the moves. Obviously, every once in a while you want to do moves. I got enough moves, brother. I got every variation of the DDT. That's all I need. You don't need anything else. So yeah, we just go with that.
Right. So me ask you this, since you're the one talking, OG. What is your character? If somebody would ask you, what is your character? If it's going to be, you're talking to your face, what is it you want the fans to perceive you to be?
I'm just a rapper, OGUgly. That's really what it's gonna be.
That's going to be your
Just an
music,
entertainer.
moving over entertainer.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a superstar entertainer. That's all it is. A superstar that ain't made it yet. I guess is the best way to put it.
All right.
So,
Let's move around the room.
Honestly, what gets me to go into training is a lot of it is the fact that I didn't get a whole lot of support when I was growing up, and I get a crap ton of support from the boys. Like everybody I train with, I can trust them more than I can trust a lot of people. There's a reason I say Grindhouse is family, is because it is just one big family to me. Like my family's integrated with it, and basically it just that pushes me forward because I want to do Tony and Ronnie and Mitch and now Myron and everybody else at least a little bit of like just do them proud a little bit, because I'm trying to keep going, because there is nothing else in a lot of ways. It I don't mean that like, oh, if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be doing anything else. But in a sense, that is what I mean, because before going to Grindhouse, I was listless. I didn't have any goals or aspirations. Like I'm partially doing it to make my kids proud and show them that if there's a dream they want to do, they can do it as long as they stick with it, no matter how hard it gets. But now it's also the fact that I want to be around these people I train with every frigging week, because I mean, if it wasn't them, I don't know who I can't trust a whole lot of people that I've met on the road. I'm not giving shade to anybody else. I've seen a lot of great workers, but everybody at Grindhouse I've trained with and wrestled against, up to and including the person who broke my nose, I can trust implicitly when I'm in the ring with them, because at least I know that they know me like I know them, and it takes away a lot of that fear and second guessing that as a person with anxiety that is like really bad anxiety, it makes me feel centered, if that makes sense. Like something that something that brings me immense joy to keep pushing, and to keep trying.
Right. Right. Especially, like I said, you got a young family, and like I said, you do want. I mean, I get it. I mean, I've been there, even with a family. I mean, it's like, okay, where do I go next? What's my next job? What's going to make the ends meet?
And you
No,
always
I
have to
mean,
worry about that.
yeah. Well, anymore for sure. We've all got to worry about that day to day. All right, Mike. What's your thoughts?
Well, going to the character thing, I like to believe that I am Major Price, because I was, like I said, I was in the military for 8 years. Major Price is basically Sergeant Heisel, who I was in the military. You know, we like to say that our characters are just us amped up to like an 11. Major Price is who I am, and you know who I can't be in my normal life. You know, I can't go around yelling at everybody like a drill sergeant. So I kind of get my frustrations and my anger out there. Grindhouse to me is a therapy. It really is. Going in on Sunday morning, it is a brotherhood. So like the military, I go from being in a brotherhood of guys that I can trust and go to war with. I'm turning it around and basically going to war with them in the ring. You know, we trust each other to go to work with each other, and you know, like I said, it keeps me going. I know I'm one of the older cats, but it's something I've always wanted to do. The fact that I'm doing it with the guys that you see sitting before you is just, it's another plus to the whole thing, man. It really is. We've come a long way together, and the journey is only beginning. Like every Sunday we go, something new is coming, something big is gonna happen. Wednesday nights or just, you know, that's the add on. You know, you go there to sharpen your skills, go in there to, you know, get a little bit better at everything you've already learned. Um, Mitch is really awesome about that. He's gonna put you to the test, but he also wants to ask you, what do you guys want to work on? Your certain moves. I'm 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 kind of in the mix of trying to become a power guy, but I'm also into the submission game. So I got a lot to work on, but it really is getting polished on Sundays and Wednesdays. I can say that.
Okay. So let's wait. We're sitting at. I'm just looking at time because I've got stuff. My wife's got surgery in the morning on her hip, so I'm watching my time. It's not trying to rush you guys. I'm just trying to focus on some certain things. So you've gained a family at Grindhouse. Your families have gained a family at Grindhouse. Like I said, we're all there on Sunday, the last Sunday of every month, cheering you guys on, whether you're a face or a heel, bad guy or good guy, a tweener, whichever you may be. And I think, especially at Grindhouse, the admiration of the fans there. Like I said, watching you guys from sitting around the ring, and everybody's like, "Oh, let's chit chat for a few minutes," and that's what we've all done. All of us have at various times, and get to know each other outside the ring, so to speak. In a year from now, do you, with the way Grindhouse goes, they got the card goes up and down every year over there. I mean, they've only had a few guys that have been at the top for the full year, and they've had everybody's worked their way up and got to that point. Do you see yourselves at least at the very minimum up at the .com championship level?
Brother, I'm going to have that. What do you mean? 12 months? I'm going to have it. Don't worry about that. Yeah, for sure. I have every intention on climbing up and having a belt as soon as possible. And that's not in character. That's shoot. That's real me.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm the same way. I don't. To me, it doesn't matter what title it is. I just want to have a belt from my school. I could go anywhere else and get a belt, and it would not mean nearly as much as it would unless it was Grindhouse. Like if I have a Grindhouse title around my waist, which is what I want, then it'll make every single thing I've done to get this to happen, it'll make every bit of it worth it.
I get that. That's respectable. I mean, like I said, you've seen guys like Midnight. You've seen guys like Iman. You've seen guys, a couple of the guys that have the class before you that have worked their way up in these storylines. So I mean, I think just give it time, and you'll be right there with them, and maybe even surpassing them. I mean, that's one thing. Like I said, Grindhouse does take their students and put them out there to either you sink or you float, or you sink or float, And right now, I think, like I said, that's one reason why I wanted to do this, to introduce you to the fans. That way, they say, hey, that's so and so. Remember the names: OGUgly, Major Pryce, Cyrus Riley. Repetition, as the old saying goes. So who else? So I know you're working for Grindhouse, and you're also working down for Sam down in Southern Illinois. All of you?
Yep.
All three of you?
Yep.
So, and how's that going?
It's going good. I got to make my tag team debut, I guess, last month. Do a squash match. And I got a 6-man tag with the Ugly Boys Saturday against the Redneck Mafia and Cole County Crusher. So there's that. But it's been good.
So I think I call that the Swiss sister promotion of Grindhouse.
Yeah. That's good. I've worked at Supreme as well. I just did a match with JMO at Supreme, and I've worked EWA as well, but Strictly's like the main other one for me.
Yeah, Supreme's one out of Madison, Indiana.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's get ready to close up, but let's tell the fans, each one of you, tell them where they can find you. I know OG's he can tell you where you find his music and all that as well. Just give a little bit more, and then close up. And it's like anything else you want to say.
Yep, I guess since I was mentioned, I'll go ahead. All the handles are OGUgly official. My music's on everything, literally every platform, and I get paid, so I appreciate you guys listening to it. But it's one word. If you make it 2 words, it's a Spanish rapper. That's not me. If you do 1 word, you got me. You got me, brother. Yeah, all that's on there. Twitch, OGUgly official. I don't use it a whole lot, but if you want to go on there and see what I used to do, it's on there. Yeah, I mean, everything else, just keep watching out for me. I mean, I'm about to hit the ground running, and when I set my mind to do that kind of stuff, it's going to be crazy. So y'all going to have to try to keep up. It's about to get ugly, baby.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. I was trying to make sure I didn't talk over Major Pryce. It's right now. I've just got Instagram and Facebook. I know Instagram is Cyrus Riley PW because I don't know how to do handles properly. And I believe it's just Cyrus Riley on Facebook. I genuinely believe this is going to be the year that things pick up along like with OG and everything. So definitely be looking to see because I'm going to start posting more and probably get some help to make my stuff look good because I don't know. I'm still learning all this, but yeah, just Instagram and that's pretty much it.
You're basically going to find Major Pryce on Facebook for right now. I don't have an Instagram or anything like that set up. Just starting to work on some merchandise and stuff like that. I also got to get with Grindhouse and we got to fix that name issue. I think they spelled it wrong, but that's okay. I think I might have spelled it wrong on Facebook. So we're going to get to all that. Don't worry. I'll fix that. And like these guys said, man, I think we're in for a really good journey this year. I mean, the only way to go from here is up, and just remember, it's always peak season, baby.
All right. Well, the good thing you didn't go that other route with that things can only go a certain direction. That would be copyright infringement on another wrestler at Grindhouse.
I know.
he might take you up on that one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it more than you know. Hope you all enjoyed your little time here tonight. Like I said, I would talk longer, but I got to get some things done before the surgery in the morning. So I've been working on it off and on all week, make sure she's prepared. So
completely understand.
You guys, I appreciate it again. Just keep an eye out for the next couple episodes. I do have a couple people that have said they would be. I just got to confirm the dates, but hopefully 2 weeks from tonight, we'll have another Grindhouse superstar, maybe a champion. I'm not sure yet. Just like I said, waiting on confirmation on that. So, all right, guys. Well, you all have a great evening. Be safe and
Thank you, brother.
Keep up with me on Rockin' the Ring with Metal Mike on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. This video will be deleted. Unfortunately, Facebook is deleting them after 30 days, but it will stay up. I will have the video downloaded and uploaded to the YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribing to that to keep up with the interviews if you miss them. TikTok has a brief ones that I try to put together. Can't promise that I'll do the best of job. Instagram just unfortunately does 15-minute videos, not as long as we've been on here this evening. Anyways, everybody have a great evening. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you all soon. Rock on.